Hi, my name is Dr. Webb. I'm one of the professors at the University of West Georgia teaching business communication. I'm giving you this tutorial on how to create your office mix in your recommendations proposal. So as I go through the steps, I'm going to give you an example of an already completed recommendations proposal and what you should do in order to create this proposal to make it the best you can be for each of your team members that are going to be contributing to this collaborative team project presentation. So enjoy. I'm going to go through the steps, and if you have any questions, just make a note and you can ask your professor. I'd like to welcome you to Friend Consulting. So this is the first slide. This is the cover slide or the introduction slide, and I'm giving an example based on Friend Consulting. Now you'll see my picture in the corner. I might put it in the other corner. I could put it in any of the corners. I can resize it so that it ends up not being too large, and that I can also readjust the way I have my text on the slides as well. So as I go through the slides, the recording is actually per slide. So if I wanted to change something on that first slide, I could go back and just record that first slide. So when you are doing a presentation, you are going to end up having your video in the corner, just as you can see here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the screen recording of what I just did. So as you can see here on this slide, this was the slide that I took with my picture. You can see. I'd like to welcome you to Friend Consulting. So this is the first slide. This is a cover. So you can see here, I can adjust this picture. I can move it around depending upon where the text is. I can also use the animation pane up here if I wanted to have my picture come in as a shape or swivel. So it could look like this, and then I can begin talking. So you can set it up a lot of different ways. And if you want to just put it into the corner so that it is out of the way and it doesn't affect any of the writing. Because I put the animations in, I'd want to make sure I went over here and deleted the animation if I wanted to do that, or keep it. Another thing that I wanted to point out is each slide has its own section, and you can, again, adjust the animation for that. So the thing that I wanted to point out, as you'll see, is when I actually do go into the Mix tab and I go into slide recording, and I already did it for this one. You can see my picture here. I wanted to point this out because what I should have done, but it was hard for me to explain it, was each of these animations, I could click this button here and then the slide animations would pop up. So the different ways that I have my slides coming in look like that. So I would then talk about how Friend Consulting can assist you and why should you work with us. You should be aware of your slides and should be aware of what you have written on your slides. The point is you have to look at the camera. If you don't look at the camera, or if you focus on looking at your picture, or if you focus on looking at the screen, it's not going to it is not going to look like you are speaking to your audience, and that is going to lose you points. Your professor is going to grade you based on how you relate with the audience, how you develop a rapport with the audience, and how you look at your audience. So you can glance down. You can use that teleprompter function that I mentioned in the other video, but please make sure, whatever you do, that you always try to look at your camera on your webcam. So moving to the next slide, you just click on next slide here, and the slide says meet your team or meet our team. Now on this slide, you could actually, instead of having the picture, the static picture, you can create your slide by just having your own picture. For example, this thumbnail, and you can increase the size, you can make it larger. You could also put your picture on the side, or the thumbnail, the video thumbnail on the side as well, describing it. but you'd want to move around the text on the screen so that it makes sense. Now notice here it has an animation on this slide, so if you click this, the animation will pop up, and in this case it was an F for friend, F in friend. Then you move to the next slide, and again you could have your picture in this spot, video welcoming, so you indicate your background, your credibility, and then you click to the next animation, and in this case the R comes up. Again, here's another person on the team with their position. You can indicate the transition. Another one, and notice that in the corner these rotating letters will end up spelling friend consulting. This is the N. They put in one of their Google Hangout shots. They put in a picture of them with all their sneakers. They put in the team, or I'm sorry, the student organization they're representing, and this is one of their pictures of all of them holding hands or holding arms, holding wrists, and this represents the N, which they discuss. And then finally is the D in friend consulting. So these, again, as you work through, and I'm doing this on a screen recording so that you can actually see me working through the controls. Now you can always preview the slide if you want to, so you can see what it looks like. And you can always edit the slide recording as well. You can trim the slide, you can delete the slide recording, or delete all the recordings on all the slides. And then once again, those slide notes helps to work as a teleprompter. So the next section is a transition to the background and company values section. So in this case, another presenter would then take this PowerPoint, and what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to store the PowerPoint on Google Slides so that each member can take this PowerPoint and record on their specific slides. As I mentioned in the previous video, these slides are extremely large. It's a huge file, so you are going to need to have each person store it on Google Drive, make it the way that you want it to look, and then add to the slides individually. Now you want to make sure that your background is neutral, that you yourself are dressed professionally, and remember, always try to look at the camera when you are speaking. So more than a client, here your picture, your thumbnail could go in certain areas. It could fly in and then mention something, but you could also have a recording where you have this information, but you do, for the purpose of your team project, every time you are speaking, we want, as the professors, we want to see how you communicate. So we want to see the eye contact, we want to see the rapport, we want to see your expressions, we want to see how you're presenting. So you cannot just do an audio recording, you actually need to do this web recording. Our clients, and the one thing about our clients is, notice here there are transitions. So here they have the clients' names, and that stands out so that you could talk about each one as you go through. Statement of need. The statement of need, you then pass it on to the next presenter, and you would pass it on to the next presenter from the previous slide. So you need to make sure that you remember or know that the following slide is a transition slide. So at the end of the previous slide, the one that had our clients on it, you would say, and now I'd like to turn it over to our next presenter, and give the presenter's name, and say they'll be doing the statement of needs section. So then in here, you'd go through the animations, you'd speak, talk about these different areas. Your picture, you could put it here, you could put it here, you could put it here. This thumbnail would need to be included, or you could adjust the slide so that the content on the slide is off to the side, so you can put your picture so it looks consistent with the other slide pictures. Here's a chart that the team created. Again, you can move that chart over a little bit, change it so that you can easily fit your thumbnail here or here, but you have your video included. Once again, you move to a transition slide, so at the end of explaining this chart slide, you would indicate the next speaker and talk about the next section, which in this case is internal and external communication. Then as you move forward, you just keep your eye on the animations so that you don't miss any of the animations. You walk through, you discuss it, you put your thumbnail at the end in the place that you want it. SWOT analysis, again, make it so that you can put your thumbnail in a certain area that has your video image on it. Competition, recommendations, and again, keep your eye on if you have any animations so that you can go through and explain it. And you'll notice as I went through these slides, there wasn't a lot of text. And the reason why is someone shouldn't be able to understand what you are talking about in your presentation unless they actually heard you. So the presentation is really used as a guide or as kind of enhanced visual support where you yourself will be speaking. So the slides should not tell a story by themselves, but you, the speaker, should tell the story. And as you know from chapter 15, telling a story, in chapter 14, developing a story, telling a story, that's what's going to make this presentation memorable and interesting to your listeners or your audience. So when you get to the very end of your slides, you're going to do the question and answers. And here we go with the question and answers, and I'm going to explain to you how this is going to work. Once again, I'm at the conclusion slides, and I'm going to talk to you about how to insert your question and answer slides. So the conclusion slide, you can see here, they have a very simple conclusion. They had some images, the image of their consulting company plus the Excel Center, which is their organization or department, equals success. The next slide would be the any questions slide. And again, you would still be recording using your screen recording. Now at this point, each team member, and this is done in advance, is going to go to the slides here, and you can see it's question and answer, Q&A slides for the end of the presentation. Each team member is going to select one of these slides, and they're going to copy. They're going to go back to the Power slideshow in each of the team or the team is recording on. You're going to paste that slide in. Now see, the slide is right here. It follows the same formatting that your team has already formatted with a background. And now this part, this next slide, you're going to do a slide recording. So in order to do a full screen recording, you are going to go up to slide recording. Oh, I missed a step. In order to go to the end and do the question, you have to actually insert a blank slide. So when you go in here, you can go insert blank slide, layout, and then blank. And now in this blank slide, go into mix, slide recording. Click here on full screen. And now in this full screen, you will be able to hit record, and you'll be able to record your responses to the question. So in this case, the previous slide was how much time or effort will be needed to put the recommendations in place, and you would explain in this slide what it would take to put those recommendations in place. Each team member is going to complete one question and then have a full screen describing that question. Now if you take a look here at those question slides, here's a slide where it says, tell me again how the blank recommendation will improve our department or organization's image. So you would actually put down what the recommendation is, and if you're doing a department and not an organization, you can delete this and put department's image. So you make this customized to your own. So here to other departments or organizations, you could just take out other departments or take out other organizations. Here's another question. Here's another question where you'd have to actually put one of the recommendations in, then you would delete this section here. You can also adjust these questions to make more sense to you. These are just questions that have been created so that there is a question and answer period so that you can indicate how you would respond and how you would field these questions if you were actually in a presentation. So again, in this question, you'd remove this and you'd actually write in the recommendation. So hopefully this makes sense to you. You'll have your presentation that will take about 15 minutes in total. And then 5 minutes for the question and answer. You really shouldn't spend more than 1 minute answering the question in the question and answer period for each of the participants. If it goes over a minute or two, that's okay. Remember, the point of this recommendations proposal is to be persuasive. If you're not persuasive, you're not doing what you need to do. And you want to focus on that. So if you have any questions, please ask your professor. You can also ask me if you'd like. I'd be happy to help. But good luck, have fun, be creative, and enjoy creating your office mix.